Good morning. Good morning. I am broadcasting to you on the 20th of October 2025, and I'm on my other platform, still YT, but YT seems to be very fussy about what you say on here. And I have 574 subscribers, and yet when I post something on here, barely anybody replies, or maybe I may get 10 or 20 views, and I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because I put links to music. I don't know. I don't do that anymore, but I will suggest a song in comments, and then you can look it up for yourself. I am now a man in his shed, and I prefer to call it my studio, with tools and a flag. And I can broadcast here to my heart's content. And a man without a shed is like a man without a woman. Well, not quite, but I'm sure you know what I mean. Sheds mean a lot to us guys. And let me tell you a short story as to why I'm here in my shed. Many years ago, I was building a new roof on an old house. And being on a scaffold gives excellent views over neighbouring houses. And you could say the one above sees all, and you certainly do. And I noticed something quite odd. Every morning, around 9 a.m, an elderly man left the house with a tray, and on that tray was sugar, cups, tea, and something that looked like sandwiches or biscuits. And I asked my customer what was going on, and he said, yeah, that man has been doing it for years and years. He would go to his shed and stay there all day until it got dark. So, here I am. But I have power. I have the internet and Wi-Fi, and also Bluetooth, and also a coffee maker, and any food I want to bring from the house. So I can stay here all night if necessary, which is not going to happen. Not quite heaven, but close enough. We only have just some of the things we really like in this world, but just must accept the inevitable. And right now, we here in England are under siege with a totalitarian government hell-bent on total control. But I'm well aware that many other countries are in the same position as us. In fact, most of those countries within the European Union, or more appropriately, EUSSR. Now that is a foreboding ring to the acronym, just like the Brit USSR, which is flourishing under its new leaders, dare I say. And now I look back at better times with great nostalgia. And I first came to Finland with the help of some friends, of whom I'm eternally grateful and always will be. Without mentioning any names, I will attempt to retell my experiences in a cold but beautiful country. Times and dates are irrelevant because it lives in my memory as if it were yesterday. And I will also dispel some of the myths created by people who never actually asked me what occurred in Finland. And they still believe the fairy tales they created. Now, in those days, I was a very keen user on G+. back in the day, G Plus was a sort of highbrow social media outlet which has now sadly disappeared. Probably because it didn't attract the right sort of moron. And there I met people from all over the world and shared interest in music, mostly. But I conversed about almost anything. And I spoke regularly to people in Finland, and eventually I received an offer to go there and stay for a while. And I must admit, I jumped at the offer. My dream as a boy was to live in a country that had snow. And Finland sure had plenty of that. And my first few trips I travelled by plane several times and eventually put all my possessions in a van and I drove there. All 1,400 miles through 6 countries. And I worked for my supper and I made more friends. And eventually my closest friends, mostly from one family, invited me on a month's trip around the Baltic Sea, right up to the limits of Russia. And I was on board a 35-foot sailing vessel with an inboard diesel engine that took us anywhere we wanted to go. And it was a trip of a lifetime. And I must confess, I was so enamoured by it all that I didn't want to come back to England. But I did. And then invited my friends to stay here. Unfortunately, the guy couldn't come because of work commitments, but the lady did and enjoyed her stay. Even though it was a little bit stressful meeting my family who didn't want to understand my relationship with these people or these strange people from Finland because they hadn't been Finlandized like me. And I must confess, my first impressions visiting Finland was a total culture shock. The food, the customs, the social system, the regular sauna, and yes, it's sauna, not sauna, and most strikingly, feminism. And feminism in Finland is very, very strong indeed, and I embraced it. My philosophy in life is to believe that when you visit another country, you respect their culture. And I'm a firm believer in the old adage that states, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Or in Finnish, massa man tavalla. Meaning, in the earth as in the earth. Basically meaning exactly the same. And I apologise for my clumsy attempt at saying it. I never quite managed to speak Finnish because of the nightmare grammar structure. It's horrendous. And the only criticism I had was the Finns' fascination with America. I could not understand that love affair, especially when the Finns had their own beautiful culture and invented many, many things they gave to the whole world. And I suggest you look up Finnish inventions. You will be pleasantly surprised, I know. And then came along 2020 when the whole world went mad. And I'm very pleased to say that I didn't believe a word of it and didn't join the hysteria. And I've always been a rebel in my life, and there was no better time to exhibit my rebelliousness. Even though I got flack and even threats. But, like everything else in this life, I survived it. And it seems to me now that one event changed the world completely. And it gave those in control the power they only ever dreamed of. And almost total compliance. But not quite, it seems. Many more people today are waking up to what happened and are also questioning other serious false flags in the past. And if you're not familiar with the false flag operation, look it up. And today the world is on the brink of massive, massive social change, and there's never been a more scary but also exciting time to be alive, and I'm grateful for that. The real education in this life is teaching people to think critically, question authority, and trust their own judgment. Don't be told what to do. Make your own opinions. Go your own way. And I really sincerely hope Finland finds its feet and reverts to much better times it once had. All bad times and good times finally come to an end, and hopefully this nightmare will gradually disappear. As for England, I don't have much hope, but I'm grateful for the good times I had in a relatively free society I experienced as a young man. So thank you for listening to A Man in His Shed, and you are all welcome to my rantings. God bless from my man cave. Bye-bye.